This is such an important day always for the Polish Museum of America and the Polish Roman Catholic Union of America. And it also gives us an opportunity to show off our beautiful museum. Although I hope that many of you will return at your own time to be able to visit other parts of the museum. We are so grateful today for the many elected officials that we have. We have our guest from the Polish Embassy in Washington. We feel that we are important enough that we have these wonderful, wonderful guests join us, and you'll be hearing from several of them today. So I welcome all of you. I hope that many of you that are here today that are not members of the Polish Museum will become members at some point soon. We have about 1,400 members. We could certainly go up to 4,000 or 5,000. So thank you again, and it is my pleasure to introduce my co-MC, who is not only the president of the Polish Roman Catholic Union of America, but he is also the chairman of the board of the Polish Museum of America, Mr. Joseph A. DROBOT, Jr.
Thank you and good morning. Witamy. Because of the events that are taking place throughout the Eastern European area, some of the scheduling that we have here in print will change. And one of our government officials, Representative QUIGLEY, would like to address us this morning first off, so that we can get on with the government actions. Representative QUIGLEY.
Good morning. I've been to several Pulaski Day celebrations, and it's always an extraordinary honor to honor an American hero, the father of the cavalry, to celebrate our relationship with our great ally, Poland. But today's a little different. When I was in Poland the second time, I was with Senator Kirk. And one of the things we talked about, in addition to the law-sponsored visa waiver, in addition to missile systems, which we're concerned about Russian influence, we talked about the relationship between Poland and Georgia, and Poland and Ukraine. This is no more important than right now, that relationship, and what the European Union, what the rest of the world, and what the United States does to respond. This is the time to stand together. The actions of Russia in 2008 in Georgia cannot be allowed to be repeated. These are close allies, not just geographically, but by friendship and political relationships, and Putin must be shown that this cannot be tolerated. If one can be challenged, taken, and overrun, so can the other. United we stand, divided we fall. So it is incumbent upon us, working with the President, as we go back tomorrow morning to Congress, make sure Putin realizes this will not be Georgia revisited. So we are Polish today, we are Ukraine at all times, given what's happening there. So I want to thank you for having me. I want to continue to work with you on all the issues that matter in our city, in our state, in our nation, but also given the events that are taking place in Ukraine. So thank you so much for having me. Have a great day. God bless.
Because of the activity that is going on in the world, I think it's important that we now ask Bishop Vipik, Auxiliary Bishop of the City of Chicago, to invoke God's help in helping our situation. Bishop, please.
Thank you. Before I begin with the prayer, I want to assure you of Cardinal George's thoughts and prayers, and he asked me to convey to all of you his solidarity. He couldn't make it today, but through me, he is also present. So I pray in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Bow your heads and pray for God's blessing. Heavenly Father, we adore you for opening your heart to us so we could see more than our human eyes allow us to see. We could see through our love that you shared with us, and out of love you created us. We beseech you with our thanksgiving, so we could even more understand your doing in us and through us in this world. We also ask you to keep us in your love, so we could exchange that love with one another in the world, with Polonia, of the past, but also present and the future. Because in you there is no time. We created the time as humans. But you always love. Especially in these days as we look further than our own neighborhood here in Chicago. We look into the world's affairs that are not of love, but of political or even evil doings. We reach out to the people of Ukraine in faith and by prayer, so they could know that we are with them and they are strengthened, not by arms or by other means, but by love of the people all over the world and solidarity in faith. Strengthen their resolutions so they could see more than human eyes can see. And we, being in solidarity with them, we could speak on their behalf by prayer and reaching to those to whom freedom is the most important, because freedom is the value of itself. It cannot be commercialized or politicized, but its value in itself. Allow us to see that. And I ask this through Christ our Lord. Ojcze Niebieski, prosimy Cię, abyś spojrzał na nas łaskawie w tym miejscu, w którym gromadzimy się, wspominając tych, którzy w przeszłości budowali drogę ku wolności, którą my cieszymy się w tym miejscu i w wielu miejscach na świecie. Dziękujemy Ci za Twoją miłość, którą rozlewasz w sercach naszych i sprawiasz, że tę miłość rozlewamy do tych, którzy są wokół nas, nasi bracia i siostry. Dzisiaj w szczególny sposób prosimy Cię za tych, którzy kładą swoją wolność na granicy wytrzymałości. Prosimy Cię o to w wierze naszej wspólnej, braterskiej, a również słowiańskiej, abyśmy wspólnie budując wolność przyczyniali się do dobra jeden drugiemu. Prosimy Cię przez modlitwę, aby ci nasi bracia i siostry, którzy przeżywają troskę o swój teraźniejszy los, ale również o los swojego kraju, żeby mieli świadomość, że my jesteśmy razem z nimi. Modlimy się o pokój, modlimy się o ich wolność. Spraw to łaskawie przez Chrystusa Pana naszego. Amen.
Thank you very much, Excellency. We appreciate your kind words. We will keep moving along. It is a great honor to have Brigadier General Jarosław STROZYK, who is Defense, Military, Naval, Air Attaché, Republic of Poland at the Polish Embassy in Washington, D.C. Brigadier General, which is the same rank as Kazimierz Pulaski had, please join us at the podium.
Dzień dobry Państwu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't mind, I stay within English for my speech. And let me reassure you that I would pass those message also on behalf of Polish Ambassador to United States, His Excellency Richard Schnepp, who wanted me to also to pass this message as a joint one from Embassy and from Defense Attaché office back in Washington, which I'm happy I could make it with this weather. Let me start by saying that we are here to celebrate Pulaski Day, Kazimierz Pulaski Day, a Polish and American hero who was fighting for freedom of ours and yours. And as it was already said, he was a US Army Brigadier General. He was a real hero. He was shielding George Washington. He saved his life. And he was really a true soldier with his values that we should promote every day. Let me also say that this is a very special moment today for this Pulaski Day because of the reason that was already mentioned of those events to the east of Poland, very interesting events and situation which is currently developing in Ukraine. But let me also mention the second issue, which is really by coincidence, in 9 days, we will be celebrating 15th anniversary of Poland in NATO. So this is a very special moment for us, another sign of Polish-US cooperation, successful one. So this is a very special moment because of those two reasons. Let me also say that Kazimierz Pulaski was a true hero, as I already said. And we should also promote his values. Hopefully, within this situation in Ukraine, we don't have to follow his values, but we as soldiers, as Polish soldiers, we are always ready to defend our country and to preserve those values. So let me conclude by saying that we should celebrate this day. Let's celebrate Pulaski Day with this beautiful museum. And thank you for the invitation, and it's my real pleasure that I could address you today, and that is a real special day for me as well. Thank you very much.
In keeping with the thoughts from the Republic of Poland, we have a representative here from the Consulate of the City of Chicago. Robert RUSIECKI would like to say a few words to address us. RUSIECKI.
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to represent the Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in Chicago at the 28th Pulaski Day Celebrations. We're gathered here to celebrate the friendship of Poland and the USA. General Kazimierz Pulaski was the hero of those two nations, and I'm really glad that we can celebrate Pulaski Day in the presence of leaders of national, state, county and city government. And we are all very grateful that you made yourselves available and you are here with us. We may bring a long list of patriots who were ready to risk and sacrifice their lives for most important values such as faith, democracy and freedom. Such were the values shared by General Pulaski when he was no longer able to fight for free Poland. He came to America to continue his fight for this good cause. His example has had many followers. Let me talk about Polish armed forces, being the fourth largest army fighting against Nazi Germany during the Second World War, side by side with the British Army. And saying that, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Polish veterans and say it once again, what I always do when I meet with the veterans several times during the year, that we are so grateful for their bravery and their sacrifice. Let me mention thousands of unknown heroes who gave their lives during the Holocaust, helping Jews. Poland, as some of you may know, was the only country in Nazi Germany occupied Europe where helping Jews was punished by death. There were thousands of Poles who helped Jews and gave their lives for that. Let me tell you about modern times, young men and women who are in Afghanistan, who are in Iraq, and Poland is the great ally of the United States over there. Let me mention a great partnership between Polish military and Illinois National Guard. And let me tell you about Polish leaders supporting fight for freedom and democracy of other nations. Polish President Lech Kaczyński stood by Georgia against the Russian military threat, and he said, "We are here to take up the fight." He said those words during the rally in Tbilisi in 2008. Poland has led, together with Sweden, the EU's Eastern Partnerships program, which seeks to draw ex-Soviet states closer to Western structures. Support for Ukrainian independence has become an important component of Polish foreign policy. Poland strongly supported the peaceful and democratic resolution of the 2004 Orange Movement in Ukraine. Poland has backed NATO-Ukraine cooperation, as well as Ukraine's efforts to join the European Union. The Foreign Minister of Poland took an active part in signing the agreement on the settlement of the recent crisis in Ukraine. Polish Prime Minister just last Saturday said that Poland will not tolerate Russian actions in Ukraine. There are many ways of being a patriot. Even now, when we are not surrounded by war. We have to remember who we are. We have to remember our background. And whenever we hear false accusations, denying historical truth, whenever we see examples of racism, xenophobia, we should stand up and fight with this for us and for others, like Kazimierz Pulaski did. This year is a very special year for Poland. There will be a number of important anniversaries. We'll be celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Second World War. We'll be celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Monte Cassino. We'll be celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising. And also we'll be celebrating 25th anniversary of the roundtable talks that ended the communism in Poland and gave examples to others a few months after the Berlin Wall fell. And we'll be celebrating the 15th anniversary of NATO membership and 10th anniversary of the European Union membership by Poland. Concluding, I'd like to thank the Polish Museum of America for hosting this and all the previous Pulaski Day celebrations. Thank you very much. And I'd like to wish all of you all the best on behalf of the Consul General Paulina Kapuścińska, myself, and the entire staff of the Polish Consulate in Chicago. Happy Pulaski Day. Thank you.
There is one bit of business that I failed to mention as we started the program this morning. The Polish Museum of America has instituted a $50 fine for any cell phone that goes off during this celebration. Now it gives me pleasure to introduce Senator Richard Dick Durbin to the podium for a few words. But before that, I would like to mention that Senator Durbin led the fight, as I said, for Pulaski's honorary citizenship into this country. He also dedicated and presented to the Polish Museum of America a Pulaski saber. So thank you so much, Senator, and please.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here today, and as was mentioned, only 6 people in the history of the United States have ever been given the honor of honorary citizenship. They include Winston Churchill, the Marquis Lafayette, Mother Teresa, and Kazimierz Pulaski. I was glad to help lead that effort in the Senate. Leaders in the House came together on a bipartisan basis to honor him for the great sacrifice he made for America. And there was also mention made of my sword. It's somewhere here. I was presented 15 years ago by a cavalry sword, from the government of Poland. It was given to 8 members of Congress who had helped Poland achieve the status of NATO membership. And when I was given this sword, I thanked the Polish ambassador very much, we all did, and then thought to myself, what am I going to do with this? I don't have a horse, and we haven't passed concealed carry in Illinois at that point. And so I figured the best thing that I could possibly do was to bring it here. And I did. The reason why it's important to remember that today is that Poland finally, emerging from the Warsaw Pact, emerging from the restrictions of Soviet times, had its independence but did not have its guarantee of independence in the future. It was by joining the NATO alliance with the United States and the other countries of Europe, that my mother's homeland of Lithuania, that Poland and other nations finally could breathe a little easier. If there was any aggression against them, there was the strongest military alliance in the world that they could turn to for support. That's why Poland's admission to NATO was a critical part of its independence and its future. So today we gather in light of what's happening in Ukraine and remember. We can remember in Lithuania as you could remember in Poland what Soviet times meant. Bishop Whippick, we know what it meant to the church. And were it not for some of the brave clergy who stepped up and spoke up, the Catholic Church could have been destroyed in Poland as they attempted to destroy it in Lithuania and other places. We also know what it meant for individual freedoms. I can recall visiting Warsaw in Soviet times. It was sad. It took Lech Walesa and others to step up and speak up and to mobilize the Polish people to imagine a new time, a new day of freedom. Just last week, I had the President of the Republic of Georgia in my office. It was the day after the final ceremony at the Sochi Olympics. He came to see me and he said, "Do you know what happened this morning in Georgia?" I said, "No." He said, "The Russians have been stringing barbed wire around the borders of the area that they have occupied for 6 years." He says they wanted to wait until the final ceremony at Sochi to do this. And they obviously wanted to wait until after that ceremony to invade Crimea and to threaten the future of Ukraine. I would say to Mr. Putin, if he would ask, all of the goodwill that you bought in the world for $50 billion at the Sochi Olympics were lost on the streets of Sebastopol when you sent in thousands of Russian soldiers to occupy that area, because it reminded all of us, Lithuanians, Poles, Georgians, and others, that the ambitions of Russian empire reach out and terrorize the neighbors of Russia today. If it isn't the movement of troops, it's the sale of natural gas, continued efforts to extort from these countries an alliance with Moscow instead of looking to the West. I think it is clear Poland, Lithuania, Georgia, Ukraine are never going back to those days. They see a future based on friendship and alliance with the West. Now, what can we do today? Yesterday, up on Chicago Avenue, at the Ukrainian Center, we had a gathering of maybe 400 or 500 Ukrainian Americans. They're frightened, they're worried about their homeland, their neighbors, their family who are still there. And we received a telephone call from the ambassador, American ambassador, Jeffrey Pyatt, called from Kyiv and told us what was going on as of that day. It was interesting afterwards, as people came up to say a few words to me, there were representatives from the Polish community and the Lithuanian community and many others, because we all have long memories. And we can remember that if the Russians are not challenged and checked, there are moments in history when they will reach out and destroy the sovereignty and the freedoms of many countries nearby. So today, we gather, understanding that this is a moment in history where we need to be very clear in the United States of America. The actions of Russia in Crimea and Ukraine are unacceptable. There is no excuse for them. We have seen these before. We will not countenance them again. I have always said that Vladimir Putin learned his finesse and diplomacy as head of the Soviet secret police. And that's what he's showing us today in Crimea. We need to stand in concert with the European Union and freedom-loving countries all over the world, Poland, Lithuania, the United States, all together in one voice in saying we have learned the lesson of history. Freedom is worth standing up and asserting our belief that together we can stop this kind of aggression. Casimir Pulaski came here to help us in our time of need. We need to stand up at this moment as Ukraine faces similar challenges today. I thank you for being here and remembering history, but knowing that we too play an important part in history. Thank you. Dobrze.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. The Senator made reference to the gift to the Museum of the Pulaski Sword. and it is up near the picture. It's not visible now because of the dais, but the risers, but you can see it after the event is over. It is encased in up here. And thank you again, Senator. Thank you so much. Moving along, and knowing that we have such distinguished and dignified representatives of the various governments here honoring Cosmo Pulaski, I would ask the Mayor of Chicago, RAHM EMANUEL, to please, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Honorable Mayor, to say a few words.
I do want to make a couple comments and pick up. First of all, I want to say Dzień dobry. When you're a congressman from the 5th District, that's essential. Second is, I do want to say I'm calling out ligament by ligament. It's great to be here. But I want to pick up on what Senator Durbin just said. We're honoring Cosmo Pulaski because he saw the battle in the United States, not at that point for its war of independence, the battle for freedom, for liberty. It was his battle. In the same way that we see today the battle in Ukraine as a battle for freedom and liberty. In the same way that we were all citizens of Gdansk, a key moment in history. There are these moments in times where you have to stand shoulder to shoulder. And so the city of big shoulders will stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Kiev, the people of Odessa. We are all citizens of Kiev at this moment. We have to be clear because there's those who seek freedom and liberty and those who want to repress and suppress. And just like the people of Poland have charted their course, not just once, but over hundreds of years, about their aspirations for freedom and liberty, that flame has not ended. That torch has not been diminished. It carries forward. That torch is carried to the land of Ukraine now, where there's a clear battle. And in the same way, as it relates to what Poland has done, and Brigadier General, it's great to have you here, as a key sponsor in Congress at that time of the visa waiver, you do not treat a first-class friend like a second-class citizen. And while it's clear that all eyes and the world's attention goes to Ukraine, Poland and the people of Poland have made a choice. Not just with their membership as part of Europe, and not just with their membership of NATO. Those are clear actions. But their solidarity, that wherever the battle of freedom and liberty is fought, they stand shoulder to shoulder with those that take risks. And now it's time for the United States Senate and Congress to step forward and finish that extension of friendship with a visa waiver by making sure that Polish people who come to the shores are part of our family, as generation and generation before have come to the city of Chicago from all over the world, as my grandfather did in 1917, my father in 1959. They came to the most American of American cities because they could give their children, their grandchildren, a future they could not have otherwise. And it is time for us to remember that, remember the actions of Brigadier General Pulaski, why he saw the battle for America's independence as his battle. Thank you.
What an inspiring morning we have had so far, and it will continue. We do have a small change again. We would like, because Senator Durbin has remained for a while, and also Mayor Emanuel, we would like to now offer the Polish Museum of America Scholarship presentation. For several years we had the help of JAROSLAW, but the wonderful Vice President of Community Affairs is no longer with JAROSLAW, so we do not have that support any longer. We were able to give out 5 scholarships in past years. This year, the Polish Museum scraped its pennies and złotys together, and we are able to offer 2 scholarships to some wonderful scholarship recipients. So I would like to call Geraldine BALUT-COLEMAN, PhD, the chairman of the judging committee, and Rich Kuyava, who's working the sound system, also a former employee of the museum, now a volunteer for the museum, to please come forward.
Thank you, Maria. We received numerous applications for the 2 scholarships, and Rich Kuyava, myself, and Mr. Janosada, who could not be with us today, worked very well together in coming up with 2 very difficult decisions. First of all, we would like to tell you what the topic was, because we wanted these students to visit the Polish Museum. This year's topic was discuss a specific work of art in the Polish Museum of America collection and the importance of this artist. With that in mind, Joanna Jaros, a senior at Northwestern University with a double major in biological sciences and Spanish, was one of the recipients. Let me just tell you a little bit about Joanna. She reads, writes, speaks fluent Polish and Spanish, and volunteers as a Polish language medical interpreter at the Community Health System clinic here in Chicago. Additionally, she is an athletic training aide at Northwestern's Sport Medicine Clinic and is a research assistant at the Lemming Lay Laboratory at the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern. The artist she selected was Roman Kramstik, the painting In Deep Thought. Congratulations, Joanna. The next recipient is Beata Stamszewski. She is a doctoral candidate student in clinical psychology at the Adler School of Professional Psychology. She has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Northeastern Illinois University and a master's in psychology from the Adler School of Professional Psychology. She gave us an excellent interpretation analysis of that wonderful painting on the stairs that some people just passed by called Girl with the White Eagle by Władysław Benda, otherwise known as W.T. Benda. Beata, please join us.
The affairs of government are calling, and our Honorable Mayor RAHM EMANUEL is leaving us right now. So let's appreciate his presence here. Continuing the program, even though we've made some adjustments, we would like to ask Leslie Combs, who's representing Janice Shankowski, U.S. representative, to express some greetings from the U.S. representative.
All right, thank you. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here today on behalf of Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, who is sorry she can't be here herself. It is so important that each year we celebrate and retell the story of Brigadier General Kazimierz Pulaski, the great Polish-American hero of the 18th century. And no one does it better than Illinois and Chicago, I think we can all agree, and the Polish Museum of America. But it's not just the story of one man. When we celebrate the memory of Kazimierz Pulaski, we honor great principles and values that are true today, like the idea for sacrifice of something you believe in, something much bigger than yourself. Brigadier General Pulaski was willing to risk and ultimately sacrifice his life for the idea of creating a new democracy. And today, young men and women are doing that very thing around the world. When we honor Kazimierz Pulaski, we honor our young men and women in uniform who are in harm's way, even as we meet here. And we turn our thoughts to the events in Ukraine, and we honor those fighting for democracy and freedom right now. The lessons of this day include the importance of international cooperation, U.S.-Poland friendship, and immigration reform. Kazimierz Pulaski made an amazing journey and became not just a participant in an historic struggle, but a great leader, a general, and he helped shape the future of the United States of America. We can honor Kazimierz Pulaski by working to make this generation of Americans welcoming to the dreamers and all Polish immigrants who have embraced this country. I don't think Kazimierz Pulaski was asked for his visa when he mounted his horse and picked up his weapon. Today, visitors to our country from Poland should not be asked either. That's why, once again, Congresswoman Schakowsky is a vigorous advocate for the visa waiver program for Poland and for comprehensive immigration reform. By pushing for these changes, we all honor the memory and heroism of Kazimierz Pulaski. Thank you so much for the honor of addressing me this morning.
I failed to mention that Senator Durbin also left along with Mayor Emanuel. But I wanted to see, did we check to see that the sword is still here? It is, okay. Moving along, we would like to move down to the bottom of the first page, and I'm going to ask Honorable Sheila Simon, who is the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Illinois, the representative of the government of the state of Illinois, to speak with us now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here today. One of the things I love about this celebration is it's not just a celebration of Kazimierz Pulaski, but of education and continuing that message. And to have the celebration here at the museum is really very meaningful. And to have a chance to celebrate the scholarship of these two brilliant young women. I think we're all envious of your futures and what you have the ability to do. It reminds me of one of my favorite professors in law school, Professor Maria Frankowska, who taught me immigration law. And I learned a great deal from her in that class, but I learned even more from her after the class was over and when we were then colleagues at the law school. And it was getting ready for a faculty meeting, and anyone who's ever been to a faculty meeting knows that this is not the most exciting thing in the world. But I was talking with her about one of the things we were to vote on, and she said, I don't know that I'm ready to vote on this yet. I said, why? This is just one of the things that we have to decide on at the faculty meeting. She said, as someone who's lived most of her adult life in Poland and come here not too long ago, she had spent so many years being told who to vote for, that she valued the right to vote more than anything, that this meant so much that even voting at a faculty meeting, she felt she really had to know what she was doing, that was precious to her. And I have to say, growing up in this country, that's one of the things that I too often take for granted. So I thank Professor Frankowska for teaching me that very important lesson. I think it's a lesson that all of us need to keep moving forward, and it's a great day to do that. Thank you very much for letting me join in the celebration. Dziękuję.
What I failed to mention about Sheila Simon, is that she is the daughter of one of the more famous senators from the state of Illinois, Paul Simon. And I think we should recognize that. We have a friend to the Polish Museum and to the Polish community forever and ever and ever. And I would ask Judy Bartopinka to please speak.
Forever and ever and ever. Oh. And that is forever and ever and ever. You know, at no time, and this is after numerous Pulaski days, I think at no time has it been more important that we have been here today on Pulaski Day, because of what is going on in Europe at this time. And it reminds me of a little anecdote anytime that you talk about Russia and how to deal with Russia and the former Soviet Union. It involves a turtle and a scorpion. And the turtle talked to the scorpion, or the scorpion talked to the turtle and said, you know, there's this river, and I'd like to cross, but I can't swim. And you, turtle, can swim. And if you'd let me get on your back and you take me across, well, we could be friends forever. And the turtle said, yeah, but if I take you across, when we get to the other side, you're going to sting me. And the scorpion said, oh no, I promise, I will not sting you. And so the turtle took the scorpion on its back, and they went across the river, and as soon as they got to the riverbank on the other side, the scorpion then dutifully stung the turtle. And the turtle said, you promised, what did you do that for? And the scorpion said, it's the nature of things. So when you talk about Russia, and you go through the history of Russia, and the interaction of Russia with the rest of Europe and the part of Asia that it controls, or has been in control of, that is the nature of things. You cannot take a Russian promise for keeps. They don't stand up to it. And I think we found out again that Europe has just gotten stung again, and of course these are our allies. We have walked with them over the years, and today I think when we look at Pulaski and what he did, and all the other immigrant types of folks, the majority of whom were Polish, by the way, who have come over to give us a country, to give us the city of Chicago. Without Poles, there really wouldn't be a city of Chicago. Who built it, for God's sakes? This was on the backs of the Polish community that these structures exist. And our businesses and our industries flourish because of the Polish community. I am very honored to be a part of the Slavic family here, an adopted Pole, if you will. I am so totally awed and so full of respect for the Polish people and all that they have gone through in the name of freedom. And this is a long-term seeking that they have done and set the pace for all of us. Pulaski is just one chapter in that. They have fought for Christianity and helped to save that. They have fought through World War II. The Polish people have suffered incredibly. I don't think any of us who were not in Poland after World War II have any concept of how the Polish people suffered. And yet they come back. They constantly come back. They've got the resilience and the leadership and the push and the drive, and that says, we will be free no matter what. And I think that's worth something from the Constitution right on up. So now all of that needs to come together as we stand with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters. And we must stand with them. It is time to tell the Russian bear, the Russian scorpion, if you will, no stinging this time. We're not putting up with that. We are standing tall. So I think Casimir Pulaski, I mean, enough that I've collected all sorts of Pulaski memorabilia with my son, who's still in the Army. And when he was at Fort Knox, we created a little mini Pulaski museum because he was the founder of the American Cavalry. This is the kind of leadership that we talk about. right now Ukraine needs a Pulaski, and America needs to continue to have the Pulaskis of the Polish community to lead us as we go forward in the future for this great nation. So to all of you for coming out today, thank you for being here. Thank you for always remembering freedom, because that freedom beats deeply in the heart of the Polish people. God bless you all. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful words that we hear from Judy. She's always so supportive of the Polish cause and the Polish people. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce a daughter of Polonia, one who has been involved through her family for many, many years with the state of Illinois, through her father, representative. I'd like to call on Ari Kuczynski to come and say a few words of greetings to us.
Thank you, President Drobot. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always an honor to be here to celebrate the life and the death of Kazimierz Pulaski. We celebrate his life. He chose to come to these shores, a young man familiar with the terrors of empires, of ruthless empires, to fight for America's freedom. He spent his own money to supply his troops, and he ultimately gave his life so that America could be independent of an empire. Some of us in this room remember the beginning of World War II. Not many, but some. Most of us remember what it was like in Poland under communism. Most of us remember what it was like when communism finally ended. And each of us today is seeing the beginning of the second Iron Curtain. And we must channel Pulaski to say no. Now we've heard from the mayor, from the congressman, from the senator, from our speakers, how important this is. But I'm asking you to think through, okay, Pulaski came here, he gave his own money, he ultimately spilled blood, gave his life. We have a much more challenging task. As citizens of this free nation, if we channel Pulaski's spirit of independence and commitment to freedom, everybody today will go home and ask everybody that they know, and ask every member of their organization to write to their alderman, to their state representative, to their state senator, to the United States congressman, to the United States senators, and to the president, and say, as Polish Americans, we expect our nation to protect the sovereignty of the Ukraine. Writing a letter, that's not hard. That's not blood. That's not the sacrifice Pulaski made, but it gives us a link to him. Second, as Polish Americans, Pulaski came here to fight for independence, and we have it. We have freedom. Do you think those people in the Ukraine aren't looking at us and saying, oh my God, if only we lived in America? One of the valuable things, one of the things that we are finding most precious is our ability to vote. Not just because by voting we select our leaders, but by voting we get our numbers on the board. If 100% of the Polish Americans who are citizens and eligible to vote voted, Congress, the president, the mayor, the aldermen, the state representatives, the state senators, they would all have to pay attention to us. And so if we continue to want the respect that Pulaski got for giving his life for this country, the least we can do is give our vote for it. Thank you very much.
Boy, I know that these speeches are going to stay with me for a very long time. An amazing morning. Thank you so far to all of our speakers. For several years, the Polish Museum of America has been very fortunate in receiving financial underwriting from First National City Bank. Jerry, were you there when it was National City? Yes, okay. And then it continued as PNC Bank. So we have our good friend, Jerry FURBY, a downstater like I am, who is the Executive Vice President and Business Banking Manager, Market Manager for PNC Bank. Jerry, would you please come forward? Thank you, Jerry.
Good morning. Witam Bob. As mentioned, I'm Jerry Furby. I'm Executive Vice President of PNC, and I'm pleased to be here today, especially with the events and what we've heard this morning. Thank you. Our President, Scott Swanson, couldn't be here, but he did want to send his greetings. PNC is pleased to support the Polish Museum of America, and we're working with them to honor the memory of Kazimierz Pulaski and the many other notable Polish figures who so greatly contributed to the American democracy and the preservation of Polish heritage and freedom. We're pleased to support the local Polish community by offering in-language financial services to hundreds of thousands of Polish-speaking individuals. And we look forward to continue to serve and support Polonia in Chicagoland. And in honor of today, celebration that we have, we're happy to present a $5,000 check and donation to the Polish Museum of America. Thank
you so much for being with us today, too. We are extremely fortunate. Thank you so much, Jerry. This will help the museum so very much, and we appreciate your being here as well today. At this moment, I would like to introduce guests on the dais that will not be speaking today, but are gracing us with their presence. And it's pretty much alphabetical. We have Alderman John Arena, who is the alderman from the 45th Ward. John. Honorable Maria Antonina Barrios, Illinois State Representative, 39th District. Maria. I thought I could catch them. Okay. An Honorable Joseph Barrios, who is not only assessor for Cook County, but is the Cook County Democratic Chairman. Okay, you can applaud, absolutely. Honorable Edward Burke, who is Alderman for the 14th Ward for the City of Chicago. Alderman, we welcome you. Thank you for being with us. Honorable Michael M. Carbonardi, Commissioner, Cook County Board of Review, 2nd District. Honorable James Muda, Mayor, Village of Norwich. Honorable Mayor, thank you. Honorable Mark Dobzhitsky, Trustee, Village of Harwood Heights. Mark. David E. Huber, High Chief Ranger, Catholic Order of Foresters, a fraternal, a fellow fraternal. Delphine Honeycutt, President of the Polish Women's Alliance of America. Oops, oh dear. Are you okay? Okay, well, it's a grad stand-up, right? And if it wouldn't be for the Polish Women's Alliance, we would not have this fantastic painting of Pulaski falling at Savannah, but also the Polish Women's Alliance were very, very early supporters of the museum when it opened 76 years ago. So thank you, Delphine. John Kilchewski, the President and CEO of CSA Fraternal Life. John. Allison Coppell, American Fraternal Alliance. Allison. Honorable Daniel Kotowski, Illinois State Senator, 28th District. My district. Okay. Timothy Kuzma, I don't believe, did Mr. Kuzma make it? Okay, from the Polish Falcons, another fraternal. Honorable Robert F. Martwick Jr., State Representative, 19th District. Rob. Honorable Mona Noriega, Commissioner, City of Chicago Human Relations. Mona. Honorable Dan Patlak, Commissioner, Cook County Board of Review, 1st District. Honorable, I don't believe Mary Ann Spiriopoulos made it. I don't think she made it. Okay. Honorable Gerald A. Tarka, Treasurer, Calumet City. I don't believe he came either. Honorable Krzysztof Wasowicz, Mayor, Village of Justice. I know that he's here. And Honorable Konrad Zieliński, Vice Consul, Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in Chicago. And we are such an important event that we had more visitors join us on the dais today, and I would like to introduce them. State Senator Kirk Dillard is in the audience. Kirk, I think you are 34th, am I correct? Did he leave us? Okay. We have State Senator John Mulrow from the 10th District of Illinois. We have the Honorable Walter Burnett Jr. from the 27th Ward. He also left. Okay. Honorable Robert Fioretti, who has been with us before. The 2nd Ward. Now, did I get everyone? Let's see. Maria speaking, Dorothy speaking. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Larry Rogers.
Yes, and we have Commissioner Larry Rogers joining us. Thank you, Commissioner, for being with us. Yes? We're good? Okay. Thank you. Thank you all very much, and thank you for being with us. I will acknowledge our VIP guests today in a group, but we also have some additions to that as well. So we will continue then, Joe?
Continuing, yes.
How could I? Andrew Shabua, the mayor of the Village of Nice. Forgive me, and I promise I'll come every week to the White Eagle. Okay.
Maria, I think you did that intentionally just so that we would get an extra round of applause. Moving along, I'd like to introduce a friend of mine, an individual who welcomed me and my wife Judy to the city of Chicago back as when I was elected president of the Polish Roman Catholic Union. He is president of the Polish American Congress and president of the Polish National Alliance. He welcomed me with open arms and offered all kinds of assistance for me to get comfortable with the position of the president of the Polish Roman Catholic Union. Mr. Spula, please.
Thank you, Mr. Drobot, for that very warm introduction. Dzień dobry. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's really an honor for me, as well as all these other speakers that are here today, and for all of us here as well to be here as we celebrate the legacy or the memory of Kazimierz Pulaski. But you know, to begin with, I'd like to congratulate the 2 young lady recipients on achieving their scholarships here from the museum. You know, there's an old truism: the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I think that's reflective of you. And we have so many people within our community that are really successful, and we need to promote them more than ever before in this day and age. You know, when we take a look, we've heard all these great remarks about Pulaski here today. But you know, we honor him, but we also honor other heroes that have given their lives for freedom, so that we can be free, so we can express our democracy more than anything else. I take a look at some of the veterans in this audience that have their uniforms on. And again, that's a tribute. They're proud of what they did earlier in their lives. So dziękuję panowie za to. Za wasze oddanie. I can only echo the remarks of some of our previous speakers, but it's people like this that wear those uniforms that we get to experience a lot of things that we take for granted. Today, we recognize not only Kazimierz Pulaski, but all the people that wear those uniforms protecting us throughout the entire world. So, you know, we're very fortunate to be living here as Americans. You know, we've heard these remarks made about what's happened, just this last week in Ukraine. This past weekend, there were several meetings going on. Senator Durbin alluded to that he had a meeting yesterday at the Ukrainian Center, just down the street from here, not too far, about a mile from here. Senator Kirk had a program here on Saturday as well, and I was sharing with Senator Katowski for a number of hours as to who participated in that. And you know, when we really all come down to it, we all have a lot in common. We're freedom-seeking people. We're democratic people. We want that democracy. The issues that occurred here in Ukraine last week, or have been occurring for the last several weeks, is nothing new. And it's been brought up by some of the former speakers of what's happened about how the Russian government looks at this. You know, this conference this weekend, we had people from the Lithuanian community, from the Latvian community, from the Czech community, and from the Polish community, as the senator remarked to. And that's, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah, that's important because we need to be united, just as the speakers had said here. This is an issue that we all have to be united as a Polish-American group supporting Ukraine at this time. They're looking for our support. When Poland was during the Solidarity movement, you had people from the Ukrainian community involved in that motion, in that whole force behind that. We had people right here from the Illinois Ukrainian Congress participating in that. And I'm not going to mention the names of these folks, but they were very much involved with that. Also, when Poland was to be part of NATO, they were involved in that. So now, as a Polish group, we need to show that solidarity as well. We need to be united together. I'm happy to say that on behalf of the Polish-American Congress, we have been involved on this issue on a national basis. Back in December, we already sent out a letter to President Obama on this particular note. And now we're going to go further with this as well on a united front to make sure that Ukraine does get our support. Well, coming back a little bit to Pulaski, you know, when we take a look at Pulaski, he was the first one that really started this international cooperation between two countries, between Poland and that of the U.S. hundreds of years ago. He had the foresight and the wisdom of a good leader, of someone who could look to the future and see what's going to happen. And today we're reflecting back on that. You know, those comments made about the visa waiver, we're very happy to the representatives that have sponsored or co-sponsored that bill. You know, I'm happy to say that Illinois is one of the leading forces behind it of sponsoring, co-sponsoring that bill, as well as Florida. You know, for the representatives that are in this room, thank you or dziękuję for your support. But we need to have this immigration issue go forward. We have all these comments that are made by the Republican side, the Democratic side. Makes no difference. We have to be united on this entire deal. There's no easy solution to this. We have to work it together and move forward. And again, living in the present day, you know, we have all these elected officials that represent us. We have a job to support these candidates. We need to be engaged in the political system, as Jeff Puczynski had referred to. We need to be engaged by learning about our candidates, by meeting with them, and by, most important, doing what? Voting. Listen, voting doesn't come easy. Today it's easy. You can do this. Early voting starts, I believe, today. I'm not running for office, but I do believe it starts today. It's easy to do this. Our grandfathers, our forefathers fought that we can have that privilege of voting, so you and I can be free, and we take everything for granted. It doesn't take that long. Let's look at our candidates. Let's talk to them. What are their issues? What are their policies? What do they represent? Do they represent our values, our system? And let's give them that vote. The worst thing that we do is we're Monday morning quarterbacks. We always criticize on the next day, but we don't get engaged. Let's get engaged and be part of the community. We can make a difference based on the number of people living in our own city right here. Let's get it together. You know, in closing, once again, I appeal to everybody here. Let's support our candidates. Let's look for the values, the positive in them, not what's wrong in them. Let's get together, let's get united, let's give them the support, and let's vote. And once again, let's not forget about Casimir Pulaski. Let's make sure that our children are in school today. Let's make sure that there are chapters about Casimir Pulaski and other leaders, other successes within our community. Once again, thank you to the museum, to you ladies and gentlemen for hosting it, and thank you for your patience, and happy Pulaski Day.
Thank you, Mr. Spula. I would ask now that the Honorable Anita Alvarez, State's Attorney for Cook County, to address the audience.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me here once again. It's a wonderful day to celebrate everything that General Pulaski did and to celebrate all Polish Americans for all of what you have done, not just for here in the city of Chicago, but the entire country.
Just last night, my 15-year-old was complaining that he didn't have off of school today for Pulaski Day. And why was it that I got off of work and other kids didn't have school, and why did he have to go to school, and what's wrong with his school, blah, blah, blah. And then he says to me, Mom, you know, really, who was Pulaski? And I said, you know, I've told you this several years, but you don't listen to me, so get online and Google Casimir Pulaski and see what you find. And then I'll ask you later. So he does. And it got kind of quiet, and I go see what he's doing, and he's on the computer, and I see the picture of Pulaski, and I see he's actually reading an article, which is a big deal for a 15-year-old, right? And so I said, okay, well, what'd you learn? What'd you learn about General Pulaski? And he says, well, Mom, oh, Bishop, forgive me, because I'm about to curse. He goes, well, Mom, basically, Pulaski was a real badass. And I said, whoa, and I look at the article, and I'm not kidding you. There's a website called badass.com, and they have a great article about General Pulaski. And he tells me, well, Mom, he did this, and he did this, and he did this, and he was so tough, and he didn't back down. And I said, that's all good. So who knew that General Pulaski is on a website called that, and that whatever it takes for a 15-year-old to learn some history, I'm all for it. So we should all be proud of the toughness of General Pulaski. So I just want to say have a great day, and thank you all for all your tremendous contributions to us here in Chicago and Cook County, and long live General Pulaski. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we know that General Pulaski was a badass. Huh? Thank you for that. Continuing the program and the tributes to General Pulaski, I would now ask a good friend of the Polish community in Cook County, our treasurer, Maria Pappas.
So Jan and Joseph, and Maria, and Reverend Edwards, I was realizing when I was at this reception downstairs today that it is 25 years that I've been coming to these things, and I said, oh my God, a quarter of a century at the Polish parades, the Polish brunches, your celebrations in this museum. I'm truly honored to be here, especially in light of what's occurring historically. So I say to you, is there an area that the Polish community internationally has not contributed to in an excellent, excellent way, so that we remember them historically? Look around this museum. Is it the artwork? Is it the music? Is it the education? Is it the religion? Is it the language? I think from the very north of Poland to the ski slopes of Zakopane, to even the small villages like Tarnów, to the big cities like Krakow, this is an ethnic group that is not stoppable, that is strong, that has a spirit, that has great pride, and this too, we shall overcome this difficult time. And if you think about it, and you think about, for me, these last 25 years, I sat here on this dais with the likes of Rostenkowski, the likes of Lekowitz, and the likes of Paczynski, and I remember them as you remember them, and it is that kind of statesmanship with Pulaski that will pull us through. So I'm thankful to be here, and I think you have gratefully instilled in me a little piece of Poland. And for that, I thank you and I want to apologize. I'm not a member of the museum, but I promise tomorrow morning I'll become a member. Thank you.
The application for museum membership will be easily available to all those that would like. Another great friend of the Polish community and a frequent visitor to us on Pulaski Day is our friend Dorothy Brown, and I would ask her to make a few remarks.
That's right, I am a member. Jim Dobry. Good morning. It is an honor for me to be here to celebrate Kazimierz Pulaski Day in Illinois. I want to thank Mr. DROBOT and certainly Maria Czesla, the chairman and president of the Polish Museum of America, for hosting this wonderful event every year. I really enjoy attending. I want to acknowledge one of my senior staff members, Ms. Mary Anselmo, who is a great staff member and represents the community very well in our office. And I really want to add my voice by saying that it is important, even though the United States does not have a treaty with Ukraine, it is important for us to assist the Ukrainians, because I feel that Russia is spilling its oats a little bit, and so goes the Ukrainians, so goes some of our allies in Europe, and so goes even the United States of America. So it's important that we pay close attention and urge our president to assist the Ukrainians. I am honored to have the opportunity to take part in this celebration of Brigadier General Kazimierz Pulaski, an experienced military leader from Poland who valiantly offered his services in support of our country in the American Revolution. Today, we commemorate General Pulaski for paying the ultimate price for freedom, giving his life as a result of the Battle of Savannah in 1779. Additionally, we honor Pulaski because of his determination and his courageousness. It represents the universal ideas of passionate resistance to oppression. Pulaski is known for composing the motto, "For your freedom and ours," a powerful mantra that echoes the American Declaration of Liberty for all. As an American citizen who is grateful to experience and live in a free society, I am honored to pay tribute to Pulaski today, and it is with great pleasure that I join with the Polish Museum of America, other Illinois elected officials, members of the Polish American community, and the community at large in this commemoration of the life of the legendary and heroic son of Poland. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Polonia, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Dorothy. As with every program, there's always a last speaker. But that doesn't necessarily mean the least. We have a great friend to the museum that supports the museum constantly with his attention, and it is the Alderman, Mr. Roboyas, the Honorable Roboyas, that I would ask to speak. How was your Polish?
Very good.
Very good.
Witam. Thank you, President. I want to thank all the speakers that were here speaking so passionately about what is going on today in the eastern part of the world. I want to thank the Brigadier General who's here, because the bottom line when we leave here today is that we have to think that the Kazimierz Pulaski legend will prevail after today. But I want to thank everyone. I say, Witam, Wacińskie, jest dla mnie wielkim czastem brać udział w tym spotkaniu, aby uhonorować bohatera w kraju Polski, Ameryki, Kazimierz Pulaski, jak również inni zapčači. Svojim šićem abime mogu šić niepol ległości i za to jestem im bardzo wdzięczny. Treasurer Maria Pappas asked me to say that. But with that I say, Boże Bogosław Polonia, Boże Bogosław Kazimierz Pulaski. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. That was really great. Thank you. All the speakers are wonderful. In order to not have the program be an extra hour, you have in your program book a list of the VIP section guests who are our guests sitting on either side in the first few rows. All of you know how very wonderful it is to have you here and how important it is to have you here. But since the program was made up, we do have a couple of more names. So if you will bear with me, I will introduce them. Please refer to your VIP list alphabetically. You will see our wonderful representatives of our Polish American and American communities. We have the Honorable Joyce Lee-Put Gallagher, see I have trouble with the Irish names, Executive Director of Chicago Senior Services. Joyce, did she leave us? She was here, okay. All right, we have, can't even read my own handwriting, Commissioner Frank Avila from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. We have former Illinois Representative Eddie Winters. Mr. Winters, are you still with us? And, oh boy, my handwriting is getting really worse. Anna Krasinska, PRCUA District Director 7. And the next was my fault. Richard Ovshani, our wonderful PMA Board Vice President and volunteer. Rich, he may have gone back to work. And my wonderful help for 45 years, Richard Cheshla, and he may have also gone back to work, but they were helping early on. Thank you all very much. And thank you for attending. Would the VIP section please stand so you can all be acknowledged, please? I know there are some people that are in the VIP section that don't belong there. And now, before the wreath laying, we would, I'm sorry, well, you want to do the benediction first? Okay. The Bishop Vippe from Vicariate 5 will lead us in the benediction. We will then have the wreath laying, and then we will actually sing God Bless America first, and then have the wreath laying, because God Bless America always gets pushed to the side if we do the wreath laying first. So, Excellency, if you will please come forward.
Thank you. Before though I will send you out with benediction, I would like to take just a moment of your time to inform you also, but also encourage you. As a bishop, I am an overseer. That's what actually our word bishop means, overseer. And in our Polonia community, as that overseer, I have the role of fatherly care for Polonia, and also organize the life of my family, which is Polonia. And I would like to pick up on what especially Honorable Aurelia Puczynski said. We need to go to the world and start somewhere. And I would say to all of you, you represent all the great organizations and great groups, civic and even political organization and groups. Make a priority reaching out the people that you represent and gather to encourage and help in practical ways encouraging people to become citizens of the United States, and thus giving them the tool to vote, to promote the causes. Because the one who doesn't vote doesn't have a voice, even may look very impressive, but if a person doesn't vote, doesn't have a voice, no one pays attention. So make sure that when you go to your communities, do everything possible and sometimes impossible to bring the people to register, but first to become the citizen of this great country of ours, of the United States. So that's my plea as a bishop, as a father to the faith community. Secondly, look at the internet, because this is a tool, as we heard just a moment ago, for informing the people. And unfortunately, we are creating a society where bad is good. You have to be, and I quote, I just quote, so don't quote me. So you have to be badass. I just quoted it. To be good. And that's our sin of omission. That's how we know what the grave and mortal sin is. But this is also a sin of omission. Because we as Catholics especially, we confess that sin every time we go to Mass, and we profess that, but we don't pay attention to it probably. So we create a society where if we don't propose good, then bad takes over. And we cannot allow that. We have to create a society that is good, that has all ability to raise a human person to its pinnacle point of being. So do go to Catholic League Polonia.org, which is our Polonia website. It's actually becoming. Join it and inform yourself so we'll be transformed, informed, activated, or engaged and involved. That's the role of our Catholic League, Polonia.org. But please get involved. Get involved, and I challenge you to start with the voting process for many, many people in our community. And now to prayer. That's another role that I have as a bishop. I'm here to lead you in prayer, and I send you to the world. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, send us to the world which needs you, which needs love. We are rich in many, many things, but what we are poor in love. Generate that love in us, which you give us, so we could go to the world and change the world which would reflect you as a loving Father. Poślij nas, Panie, do świata, który jest bogaty w wiele rzeczy, ale bardzo ubogi w miłość. Zachęcaj nas, buduj w nas nie tylko tęsknotę miłości, ale również potrzebę dzielenia się tąże miłością z tymi, którzy są wśród nas, aby świat, w którym my żyjemy i który tworzymy, przypominał Twój wygląd jako Ojca Niebieskiego, through Christ our Lord. God bless you.
Thank you, Excellency. Before we begin God Bless America, I would like to introduce our member, Justice Jesse Reyes, Illinois Appellate Court. I believe Justice was here, and DuPage County Board Commissioner Lori Novak, who is also a member. Lori? Okay. All right. Okay, and Judge Cynthia Cobbs is also with us. Are we talking circuit or appellate? Circuit Court. Cynthia, please. Welcome.